The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show. It's time to give a shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, then you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries with 2 strangers and 1 target where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and is even loved by Hollywood celebrities including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today. Order Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, now available at Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960 or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give a shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and even endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today, and support the Mike Wagner Show at paypal.com/Mike Wagner voiceover, also on Anchor FM/support. And for some great merchandise ideas, check out Amazon.com/Mike Wagner Show. And for some great books and other great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mian Mohsen Zia. He's back by popular demand, and we just can't get enough of him. And he's basically, we talked about Einstein, which is, Michael Jackson and me. We talked about a great deal. And of course, he's author of the Lucifer Principle and Global Brain, The Genius of the Beast, The God Problem, and a lot more. And this guy, how he accidentally started the 60s and did a great job of it. And we'll be talking more about, just what's been happening in 2021, live from the Plus Studios in beautiful downtown New York City, backed by popular demand. The very talented author and publicist, Howard Bloom. Howard, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us once again. It's always great to have you back on.
Mike, it's great to see you again.
Oh, it's great to see you as well, too. And happy 2021. And a lot has happened, too, ever since we talked about our second go around with Einstein, Michael Jackson, and me. And here we are, fast forwarding to 2021. And, tell us about what's been happening ever since we last talked and up until now. I mean, a lot's been going on, talking about
a lot has been.
Inauguration, Joe Biden, and
right.
and the space program, possibly. It's like, what
right.
else?
Well, the deal is that Einstein, Michael Jackson, and Me has been named the best book of 2020.
Congratulations.
By the LA Weekly Times and the New York Weekly Times. And it's been named 2020's most soulful book on the planet by the Hollywood Digest. And meantime, I'm doing 16 projects simultaneously, Mike, and I'm running 4 space groups. One of them includes the former governor of New York State, David Patterson, Newt Gingrich, who doesn't need an introduction, Robert Walker, the former head of the House Science Committee, and 3-star General Steve Quast. And because Joe Biden has not yet announced a space policy, we are trying to tell him things that he should take under consideration for a space policy. And point number 1 that we made is there's this program called the Space Launch System. And it's a Franken rocket that was actually put together by senators, not by rocket scientists, using old parts of the shuttle, of all things. And it's going to be allegedly the most powerful rocket on the planet. The difficulty is it was supposed to be here in 2016. And it's now 7 years later and still no space launch system. We're spending $3 billion a year on it. It will cost, if it ever does get off the ground, it will cost $2 billion a year per flight. And you can buy 44 launches of a SpaceX rocket with superior capacities, a rocket able to hold 100 people or able to hold 120 tons of cargo. You can get 44 of those launches for the price of one launch of this mythical, not yet flying space launch system. But the government, the Congress, and particularly Senator Richard Kirby, who's the head of the Senate Appropriations Committee, has insisted on this rocket because it brings jobs and money to Alabama, his home state. So we have advised Joe Biden to kill the space launch system, the Franken rocket, entirely, save $3 billion a year, and buy services from Elon Musk. And if Jeff Bezos, when he quit his job as the head of Amazon and moved up to chairman this week, Jeff Bezos said one of the reasons he was doing it was to put more time into his space company, Blue Origin, which is now years behind Elon Musk's SpaceX. And it seems that Bezos would like his company to catch up. One way or the other, we're advising that Biden put his chips not on this Franken rocket, this jobs program in disguise, but put it into private industry, specifically Elon Musk and the Starship, that's the 100-passenger vehicle, and into Jeff Bezos and his New Glenn, which is going to compete with the Starship, though it'll be a smaller rocket if it ever gets off the ground. We will have to see. So that was recommendation number 1 to Joe Biden. And by the way, for the cost of one space launch system launch, you can buy 2 space programs, one to Mars, one to the moon.
That's a good deal.
Buying 43 launches, that's 20 launches to the moon and 20 launches to Mars. For the price of one space launch system launch. So
I was going to say, how do we sign up for this? It's like, I got my checkbook ready to go and credit card.
Right. Well, we just have to influence not so much our senators and our congressmen. Hopefully Biden will see the light because he has a blank slate. He has the opportunity to change things dramatically. Point number 2, Joe Biden has committed to reviving the American economy post-COVID by using green energy, by building a green energy infrastructure. Well, we just happen to have the solution he's been looking for. It's called solar power harvested in space and transmitted to Earth using harmless microwaves. And we've been doing this, Mike, since 1962. The first commercial satellite that went up, Telstar, in 1962, had this little girdle of what looked like medallions. And every one of those medallions was a solar panel. So what this satellite and all the other satellites have been about is you harvest solar power in space, you transmit it to Earth as radio signals, television signals, Wi-Fi signals, etc. That's electromagnetic waves. In other words, it's basically the same stuff as electricity or a power that you're transmitting. And that could be converted, and it is converted by your amplifiers. It's converted to the movement of electrons. In other words, electricity. So if we harvested solar power in space and sent it down to Earth, we could eliminate all man-made contributions to global warming completely. We could eliminate all man-made production of greenhouse gases. We could eliminate all use of fossil fuels for energy production. And I put together a partnership about 6 or 7 years ago on space solar power between the 11th president of India and Buzz Aldrin. And the 11th president of India and I worked on that for the next 4 years. And the 11th president of India, who knows what's real about poverty and what's not, said, with space solar power, we could lift 2 billion people out of poverty. So space solar power is the Green New Deal that Joe Biden is looking for. So in our new press release, which is coming out yesterday and today, we have advised that Biden put his eyes on space solar power. And the space solar power has been investigated by NASA. It's been investigated by the Department of Defense. I was schooled on it by the head of computational intelligence at the National Science Foundation. It's had hot support in a lot of high places, but that support has to unroll now. The Chinese know that he who owns space solar power in 2035 will own the planet. And the Chinese plan to own space solar power by 2035, and they've already built their first factory exclusively for space solar power components.
Wow.
So we better get there first.
I was thinking about that magic number 2035, where I was hearing on the news that GM is looking to eliminate all the gasoline powered cars and go electric by 2035. And I thought to myself, ooh, it's going to be faster than you think. 2035 seems to be the magic number these days instead of 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. And because there's going to be a massive change in our energy use, because using carbon-based fuels was wonderful for a while, but then it started to do damage to our atmosphere. And if you believe in man-made climate change, it's creating major man-made climate change. I'm a little bit skeptical about that myself, because this is a planet that is the home of climate catastrophe. It has been since it first coalesced 4.5 billion years ago. I mean, it's got these dramatic swings. Back in those days, 4.5 billion years ago, it swung around its axis every 3 hours. In other words, day lasted 3 hours, night lasted 3 hours. That meant if you were on the surface of the planet anywhere, you were flooded with this poisonous stuff, this toxic stuff called radiation for 3 hours. Then temperature went down 88 degrees, and you were bathed in this equally poisonous stuff, utter darkness.
Wow.
So, and it was tilted on its axis. So it went through these 4 major climate changes every year, called summer, winter, fall, and spring. And then approximately 2 billion years ago, there was ice ball Earth, where the ice at the surface at the equator was half a mile thick. We know that the Ice Age's glaciers reached down into the United States of America and made major changes in our landscape. And these huge climate changes, ice ball Earth, the Ice Age, happened without any smokestacks or tailpipes. It wasn't caused by man. This is an inherent property of the nature of this planet. So if it turns out that reducing the amount of carbon gases in the atmosphere, greenhouse gases, can help us stabilize the climate to what it was in 1650 before the Industrial Revolution, then so be it, because we humans have to start inventing climate stabilization technologies to achieve the kind of climate that we actually want. So we're advising Biden to look up above his head and to start developing space solar power on a major basis.
I also thought about it too. If you want to go back, like you talk about 1650, so you might as well go back to, like, you know, the plowing of horses, or just, you know, transportation by horses, and you know, whatever else. Go back to days of 1800, where it's just like horses and everything else, going back to colonial days.
Well, there was a horse explosion. Horses were used for everything for around 200 years. And horses, along with the beef makers that we eat, cows, produce an awful lot of greenhouse gases. So harvesting solar power in space will not reduce the amount of gases emitted by cows and the few remaining horses. But it will take care of all the things that man emits.
And that's amazing as well, too. And of course, we'll talk about, you know, what's happened, you know, especially in 2021 and more. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mia Motion Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Motion Zia, available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Motion Zia has garnered great reviews and even endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanne Cassie, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today of 4 Goes Missing by Mia Motion Zia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Heard worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. Support the Mike Wagner Show at paypal.com/the Mike Wagner Show, and also Mike Wagner voiceover and Anchor FM/support. You can also go to our looking for some gift ideas, go to amazon.com/the Mike Wagner Show. And for more great gift ideas and books, go to amazon.com/Mia Motion Zia. We're here with Howard Bloom, backed by popular demand here on the Mike Wagner Show, author of Einstein, Michael Jackson, and Me. And also we talked about, you know, some of the books as well, too. Like we had talked before, like about Lucifer Principle, Global Brain, Genius of the Beast, and more, and how we accidentally developed the 60s. And we also talked about the space program and, you know, how Biden's handling the whole thing. And of course, you know, especially what happened on the inauguration, it's like, you know, a big transition as well, too, especially with the Capitol riots and a lot more as well, too. So, I mean, a lot is going on. And could the Civil War still be in the works?
Yes, because there are a lot of people who want it. There's actually been talk about cessation going on. And the problem for Donald Trump was that he spent 6 months at least building up to a violent insurrection. He told his followers that he was going to win the election in a landslide, and if he lost, the only way he could lose would be through fraud. Then he also set them up, and this is long before the election, he also set them up to believe that mail-in ballots are illegitimate. Why? Because he thought that Democrats use more mail-in ballots than Republicans, which in some states isn't true. Republicans sometimes outuse Democrats in mail-in ballots. Mm-hmm. And he planted the idea that he who has won by 10 o'clock at night on election day is the winner of an election. Everything else is illegitimate. In other words, he stacked the deck so that he would be the winner no matter what. But just in case, he let his people know that the election, if it went to Joe Biden, it would mean one thing and one thing only: that the election had been stolen from him. And he stoked, there are 165 militia groups in the United States, and they have wanted civil war since the early 1980s, for 40 years. And specifically, they want a civil war that will allow them to cleanse North America of Jews and blacks. So I'm Jewish, so I'm one of those who would have to go. So these people have looked forward to a civil war. Remember when Dylan Roof walked into a church and shot 9 people?
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Yes, he was trying to incite the civil war that is the great dream of the militia movement. So there are people in the United States who believe that if the revolution involved the killing of 40,000 people, which it did, the American Revolution, it's time to bring back that specific aspect of the spirit of the revolution, being willing to kill 40,000 people or a lot more. And remember, these guys in the militia groups have been training with Navy SEAL level training, Special Forces level training for 40 years. They're looking forward to a war. They're looking forward to killing. And a whole mess of people. There was a bunch of guys that you see in the videos who are leading the charge through the windows of the Capitol building, and they have tactical gear on. They have bulletproof vests and bulletproof pants, God knows what all else. And they're all carrying knapsacks because they're all just loaded with equipment. And one of them is carrying, at least one of them is carrying a baseball bat. Some of them are carrying flagpoles with which they try to spear policemen. And you see these guys scaling the walls outside of the Capitol building, scaling the walls. Now, Mike, are you and I, if you and I arrive at a wall, do we scale it? We don't have the abilities to scale it.
I can't even grip my stuff. It's like I have a hard time trying to climb trees. I tried to do that. I fell. I got up on a branch. I almost broke my neck, and maybe even like a foot. It's like boom, down it goes. It's like I can't even scale a wall worth crap, to be honest.
No, and me neither.
Oh my
gosh. And these guys are scaling the walls as if it's the easiest thing in the world. Why? Because they have this SEAL level tactical training, and it's a training to kill. Mm-hmm. So when I was on the radio the night of January 6th. I do 545 radio stations on coast to coast once a week with 3.5 minutes of news commentary. Tonight I'm doing the impeachment. And I went on, and the guy just before me was Jerome Corsi. Jerome Corsi is famous in certain circles. He's the guy who came up with the idea that Barack Obama was not born in the United States, which became a prime message for guess who? Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. So Jerome Corsi is very well known, and Jerome Corsi had been at the riots. He had just come from the riots. And he said the riots were led by these 10 guys in all of this tactical gear, and they obviously weren't Trump fans. They were obviously Black Lives Matter and Antifa plants. Well, guess what? When you see the faces of these people in the video footage that, for example, was shown today in the Senate, these guys look like militia guys. They do not look like Antifa. Antifa members would have to spend a year growing beards to look like these guys.
Like Duck Dynasty.
Right. Nonetheless, the FBI has used facial recognition, and it's put out the word to everybody to identify anybody that you can in all of the videos of the Capitol insurrection. And they've arrested approximately 150 people so far. And none of those people have been Antifa or Black Lives Matter. They're either militia people or they are highly educated. They're people with college degrees. They have good incomes. They have not lost their jobs. They are self-employed or they are business owners. A whole new class of revolutionaries, very reminiscent of the revolutionaries of 1776, have gotten involved in violent action and have apparently had the military training that it takes to scale walls and to kill people. Mm-hmm. So this is a dangerous bunch, and they're looking at March 6th. Now, their reasoning is this. Donald Trump was supposed to arrive with the great answer that would prevent Joe Biden from ever taking the White House and would put him back in office again for 4 years on January 20th. And that didn't happen. But until God knows what date, American presidents were inaugurated on March 6th. And that was to give them time to move all their stuff down to Washington, D.C. in the time when you moved by horse. You did not move by automobile or train, much less jet. So the contention is within these militia groups within QAnon that the only legitimate date to inaugurate a president is March 6th. And Donald Trump will arrive in a shroud of glory on March 6th, and he will retake the White House. The big question is, do these people plan another violent incident like the insurrection to make that happen? And that is hard to say. Right now, Donald Trump has been basically laying low. He hasn't been providing the catalytic center that allows these 165 militia groups to cohere and all of these basically self-employed business people to cohere around something. He hasn't started calling on some sort of uprising on March 6th. So we'll see what happens. But yes, there is a bloodlust in America among a very small percentage of the population for a second civil war.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like that it could be coming up close as well too. And it just also thought about, going back somewhat to the space program. Donald Trump seemed to have his idea of a space program, but the funny thing is that of the 4 years, is like Donald Trump has never mentioned anything about a space program, not even education. And it's always been about, like, say, with voting fraud, Russian collusion, and tweet this, tweet that, and everything else. It's like a lot of the key things that have that made America, just run. It's been pretty much left out of it. Education and the space.
Well,
program.
he cut the education budget that NASA has. That was one of the first things that he did. But he supported a moon program, a moon program called Artemis, which is supposed to get the first man and woman on the moon since 50 years ago. Now, the difficulty with that is, remember the space launch system, the Franken rocket that cost $2 billion per flight? That's the rocket this was supposed to happen on. Well, the Franken rocket may never materialize. SpaceX Starship prototypes, SpaceX has flown two of them. Now, it's peculiar. They've flown perfectly. They've gone through what's called a belly flop maneuver perfectly. It's a difficult maneuver. And they've exploded on landing, both of them. But Elon Musk adheres to the Silicon Valley philosophy of move fast and break things. You learn from every failure. Every failure is a learning experience. And he is also working on mass producing these things. So he's up to his 10th version. His 10th version of the Starship prototype is supposed to be ready to fly possibly by Friday, after blowing one up in the last 5 days or so.
Must have blown up so many, and it seems like money doesn't matter to him. He's still trying to catch Jeff Bezos being the first trillionaire. Right.
Well, the deal is, according to Michael Cohen's book, the guy who was really trying to be the first trillionaire was a guy who was imitating Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin, according to Michael Cohen's book, owns a sixth of the economy of Russia. And when you own your own country's, a big piece of your own country's economy, you can be a trillionaire. And that's the role model that Michael Cohen feels that Donald Trump was following. That's the goal he feels that Donald Trump had in mind. I don't see any evidence of that. What I have been watching for approximately the last 3 months, I've been warning on my YouTube channel about an attempt at a coup, about a Trump-led attempt at a coup. So let us hope we have peace from here on out, and that we go back to resolving our problems democratically. But have I ever told you about omnology?
Omnology. That is totally new to me, but I love to hear about it, and so do we.
Okay, so here's the question. Why in the world have I published articles or given lectures at scholarly conferences on 12 different scientific fields? Everything from theoretical physics, cosmology, quantum physics, to evolutionary biology, bioscience, and a whole bunch of others, aerospace, for a simple reason. I created this field called omnology. And the idea, well, I'll tell you a little story. So when I was 16 years old, I was working at the world's largest cancer research center.
Mm-hmm.
And they put a legitimate scientist over my head to mentor me, but most of all, to make sure I didn't break too many pieces of multi-million-dollar equipment, because I'm clumsy. So he took me into his office, and he had this 6-foot-long desk. And over on the left-hand side were 3 piles of books, and over on the right-hand side were another 3 piles of books. And all of these books are in German, Mike.
Oh, my gosh.
German. And he pointed to the pile on his right, and he said, those are the books. I'm synthesizing the following molecule. And then he gave me a 16-syllable molecule's name.
Wow.
And in order to synthesize that one molecule, I've had to read all of the books over here on my right. In order to finally synthesize it, I will have to read all of the books over here on my left. He was referring to approximately 34 books, all in German. And I realized that is not, I had been in science since I was 10 years old at that point. I got into theoretical physics and microbiology at the age of 10. And I realized this is not the kind of scientist I want to be. This guy over my head, Phil Fish, a wonderful human, is like a gopher digging a hole so deep all he can see is the darkness around him in the tunnel he's created.
Oh my God.
I want to fly over the landscape like an eagle and see all those gopher holes as if they were pixels in a big picture. I want to see the big landscape. So the field of omnology is for the omnivorously curious. For people who are interested in many, many, many areas. In order to get the big picture, I have to be in those 12 different scientific fields where I published and where I've lectured. Because I'm trying to give you the big picture. If I can understand it and put it all together, I want you to have it. And I want your kids to have it and your grandkids to have it. So omnology is for people, it's for your sophomore year of college. So you sit down with your dad. You're interested in art history, you're interested in neuroscience, and you're interested in film. And your dad says, look, make up your mind, Mike. Which are you going to be? An art historian, a neuroscientist, or a filmmaker? Until you make up your mind, you're nothing. And omnology is there so you can say, Dad, you got it all wrong. I'm interested in these 3 different things. I intend to pursue those interests for as long as they excite me. And when new interests come along, I will pursue them too. And the result will be that when my friends are going through midlife crisis at the age of 40 and wondering why they are on this planet, and if they're females, they're planning elaborate divorces so they can finally get free of the husbands they've had for 20 years and discover themselves. And the men are buying little red sports cars to pick up blondes and cheat on their wives because they have no idea of why they're on this planet. I will just be coming in from the desert, my multiple curiosities, with my first answers. And while my friends feel they're at the end of their lives, I will know I'm at the beginning of mine. So that's what omnology is for. So why am I involved? Why do I run 4 different space groups? Why am I involved with evolutionary biology at the same time? Why am I commenting on politics on 545 radio stations at the same time? Because my task is to see the big picture and how all these things fit together. So every field that I can understand, I have a meager little brain. It's stumped by a lot of things. But every science and every field, every bit of history that I can understand, it's my job to try to comprehend it so I can give you a simple way to understand it all.
Mm-hmm. And that's very important as well, too. And we'll be back with Howard Bloom, talk about a few books as well, too. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. And also brought to you by our official sponsor, The Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mia Motion Zia of the book Missing, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. We'll be back with author Howard Bloom after this time out.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real-life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing. Available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple, and more. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, where The Mike Wagner Show interviews great guests, cool conversation, lots of laughs, coffee, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device, subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today.
Hey, this is Ray Powers. And if there's one thing you can count on in these unpredictable times, it's that you're in good hands getting some great radio, courtesy of The Mike Wagner Show.
We're back with author and publicist Howard Bloom here on the Mike Wagner Show. And by popular demand, we talked about the space program. And he was also the author of Einstein, Michael Jackson, Me, and just covered in great detail. And of course, you know, I can't think of anything to, to write about as well, too. And talked about what's been happening between, last we talked and today, and space program and more, and just omnology and everything else. And I'm trying to think of the one book that you had written about, author of the Lucifer Principle, Scientific Expedition into the Force of History. And that was one of your first books. Maybe just quickly tell us about that one.
Well, it is my first book. And I was what I haven't told you is that in addition to my science background, which is the backbone of who I am, I spent 20 years doing field work in popular culture. And in the course of those 20 years, I founded the biggest PR firm in the music industry. And I helped either build or sustain the careers of Michael Jackson, Prince, Bob Marley, Bette Midler, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Kiss, Queen, Run DMC, Billy Joel, Billy Idol, Paul Simon, Peter Gabriel, David Byrne, Chaka Khan, Joan Jett, ZZ Top, a whole lot of others. And I learned from it. I learned tremendous amounts from it. So one day I was sitting in my office, a 2-story office with a circular staircase on 55th Street near Lexington Avenue in Manhattan. And Peter Gabriel came in. And Peter said, there's this thing you should really check out. It's called the Gaia Hypothesis. Have you heard of that, Mike?
No, but I'm interested to hear more about the Gaia Hypothesis.
Well, the Gaia Hypothesis is that the Earth basically regulates itself to make life possible. That the Earth, if left to its own devices, if there were no living systems on Earth, no plants, no animals, no amoeba, no fungi, then the temperature differences would be enormous on the normal Earth. But the Earth compensates for ups and downs in temperature. For example, when it needs to regulate the atmosphere by increasing what's called the albedo, the amount of white stuff on the Earth that is reflecting light back up into space, it produces lots of white things. Mm-hmm. When it needs to absorb that energy and keep it, it produces lots of black things like the trunks of trees. That's a very simplistic notion. It was James Lovelock came up with it. He was with NASA. Lynn Margulis, the greatest biologist of the 20th century, was the second person to help establish it. And Peter was telling me I've got to read about it. So I found an article in Natural Science magazine written by Lynn Margulis and her son, Dorian Sagan, whose father is Carl Sagan. And it reached a point where it talked about life flourishing on Earth, bacterial life flourishing on Earth for over 1 billion years, and then photosynthesizing single-celled organisms they took in sunlight, which is astonishing. They kidnapped wiggles, just mere wiggles of photons.
Oh my!
And they managed to put those photons to work in a hard and fast biological system that you could hold in your hands, a leaf.
Wow.
Although they didn't have leaves yet. They were doing all of this with just individual organisms at the time. They were called blue-green algae, photosynthesizing algae. So the algae took in the things that were sweet and wonderful to them, that were pastry and delicacies, and they, if you'll excuse the word, farted out what they couldn't digest. They farted out the portions that were toxic to them. Now, in the beginning, when they started doing this, what's one little bacterial fart in a huge, massive, extraordinary atmosphere? It's nothing. But over the course of 1 billion to 2 billion years, those little farts add up. And finally, these cyanobacteria, blue-green bacteria, had polluted the atmosphere so completely that there was a mass die-off of life.
Wow.
Because the gas that they had been farting into the atmosphere was poisonous, and it had built up in a dangerous way. And that poisonous gas was called oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, to survive, some big bacteria found little bacteria that could actually use the oxygen and turn it into an energy source. And they took them in as borders, as permanent borders. And they're in every single cell in you. They're called mitochondria. And those are your oxygen converters. And eventually, because those who could convert oxygen to something useful or turn it into a treasure survived, and those who couldn't died, today we are oxygen-eating creatures, and we regard oxygen as the very stuff of life, which it is. But when Lynn and Dorian described that mass die-off of bacteria by the trillions, 1 billion years ago, in the days of the great oxygen catastrophe, they had a zest and enthusiasm for it that I found utterly distasteful, because I grew up in the shadow of the Holocaust. And I grew up with the basic idea that if you see somebody being killed, you don't just passively walk by, you try to stop it, or you are an accomplice in the deed. And to me, it looked like Lynn and Dorian, strange as it sounds, were accomplices in the deed of one of the biggest mass murders in the history of this planet. So I decided to write a book, not the Gaia Hypothesis, their word. I decided to write a book called The Lucifer Principle, which is about the dark side of nature, nature killing, nature torturing. And the Lucifer Principle says you can understand what's going on around you, for example, politics, in a whole different way, if you realize that there are several basics to this cosmos. And one is the pecking order, the dominance hierarchy. The chicken on top gets first peck at the trough, and she gets to peck every chicken below her. Chicken number 2 gets to be second at the trough, and she gets to peck at all the other chickens with the exception of chicken number 1. Chicken number 3 gets to peck everybody and comes third at the trough, but cannot peck chicken number 1 and chicken number 2. That's the pecking order. And we humans have them, mice have them, puppy dogs have them, lizards have them, lobsters have them. Just about every animal that we know has these dominance hierarchies. And not only are there dominance hierarchies between individuals within a group, there are dominance hierarchies between groups. That's why we refer to America as being number 1 and are concerned that China is trying to be number 1 and leave its position as number 2. China has already gone past Japan, which used to be number 2.
Wow.
Those are pecking order competitions between groups, not within groups. And if you understand how pecking order competitions between groups work, you can understand politics, like the current trials going on for the impeachment of Donald Trump. You can understand them in a whole new way. So the Lucifer Principle, which a lot of people call their Bible, I mean, it's sold about 140,000 copies so far worldwide. And even though it's 25 years old, is still selling because it reads like it was written today. I mean, it talks about Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to ask you about the impeachment trials as well, too. Do you think that's considered constitutional or unconstitutional? I mean, Donald Trump's been out of office ever since, that happened. So,
in the days of Ulysses S. Grant, a Secretary of State was impeached, and he was impeached after he left office. So the precedent has been set for impeaching figures, not just presidents, after they leave office. And the Congress voted, or the Senate voted, that this trial is constitutional, with 5 Republicans going over to the Democratic side. But these things are being fought on party lines. We're talking about groups trying to establish their position in a pecking order. Well, for the last 4 years, Republicans and Trump followers have been number one. They've controlled the White House and the Senate, and with their control of the Senate, they've been able to stop everything that comes out of the House. And now, with Joe Biden in the White House, the Democrats have gone to number one position in the pecking order. And what is this impeachment all about? It should be about the truth. It should be about whether Donald Trump did or did not incite the riots that happened on January 6th, the first invasion of the White House, of the Capitol since 1812, a historic event. So it should be about whether or not Donald Trump incited that, because incitement to insurrection is a high crime and a misdemeanor and a definite cause for impeachment. It's circumventing the democratic system. It's trying to rule out what happens in the democratic election and overcome it for selfish reasons. And there's the fact that Donald Trump has let it be known for years that he wants to be in office for far more than 8 years, which is unconstitutional, but that's what he wants. And then he wants a Trump dynasty. He wants his kids to follow him in this office. He wants what Kim Jong-un has.
Yes. And of course, I followed that too. And I thought to myself, if the U.S. is trying to be like North Korea, and I said to myself, if that happens, I say, God, we're in trouble.
Yeah, we're in serious trouble if that happens, because there go every liberty we can possibly imagine. Kim Jong-un practically tells you how to breathe. But that's a role model that Donald Trump embraces. He loves it. He thinks it's terrific. Remember, when Xi Jinping was named the leader for life of China, Donald Trump said to a small audience of people at Mar-a-Lago who we gathered for fundraising purposes, "That's great. Wouldn't that be neat if we tried it here?" So the question is, before us is, what is the truth about Donald Trump and his relationship to the insurrection of January 6th? But unfortunately, it's not the truth that's on trial. It's the power of 2 social groups going up against each other. It's the power of the Republican conservatives and Trumpites versus the Democrats, liberals, etc. And you see those groups every day when you're watching this inauguration. You can see those groups going up against each other in a competition to see who's going to be number one at the trough, a pecking order competition. And to understand that kind of competition, really down to your gut level and with your logical brain as well, read the Lucifer Principle. It's a book that will startle you.
And certainly will as well, too. And you also have your other books, Global Brain, The Evolution of Mass Mind from the Big Bang to 21st Century, The Genius of the Beast, God Problem, How I Accidentally Started the 60s. And where can we find all those books? We'd love to have you back and talk more about the books and also talk about, what else is happening in 2021 and other ventures as well.
Well, the books are at Amazon.com. The best way to buy books of any kind these days. And just look up Howard Bloom, which is spelled B-L-O-O-M, 2 O's, like the flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la. Or you can also look at howardbloom.net, but Amazon's the most direct way to get these things.
And of course, help Jeff Bezos be a trillionaire in the space program.
Yes.
Who knows? If that's another book you write about, it's like, who's going to come out first, Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, or is there a third party involved that we don't know about?
Well, that's a very good question. And look, Jeff Bezos is not winning. Jeff Bezos is losing. Here, Elon is flying these Starship prototypes, and he's able to do away with 2 in 2 weeks and launch another, possibly this Friday. That's utterly astonishing. Jeff Bezos is still launching. He's on the 12th launch of this rinky-dink little rocket that's suborbital. Well, suborbital is not space.
Mhm.
That's not space. Jeff Bezos has not taken a vehicle to space yet. And Elon Musk has launched 100 Falcon 9 rockets. Actually, it's up to about 102.
Oh,
this
wow.
week.
It keeps growing and growing. And if you were asked by Elon Musk to write those things like, say, go to the moon, Mars, or whatever it is, would you do it?
Well, yes. If Elon asked me to go, I would go. Because 15 years ago, I saw Elon Musk speak. And Elon Musk said, when I got out of college, I asked myself a question. What are the three things that are going to change humanity the most in my lifetime? And my answers were the internet, alternative energy, and space. So I went into the internet and I helped build a company called PayPal. And of course, when he sold his part of PayPal, he got close to $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
What did he put that money in? Not alternative energy, though he's very involved in solar energy. Space. He went directly to item number 3. And when I first saw him 15 years ago, he had never launched a thing. He had not even launched a firecracker in a tin can.
Oh, my goodness.
And NASA was scoffing at him. NASA was making fun of him. They were sure he would never be able to fly. But remember, I've worked with Michael Jackson, Prince, Bob Marley, a whole bunch of people. And I didn't know it at the time. But apparently I've got this alarm that goes off in my gut when I see a superstar, especially when I sense somebody in mythic proportions. The minute I saw Elon Musk speak, I knew the kids would be following his role model 110 years from then. That's 95 years from now. So I had 4 phone conversations with Elon, and I could not tell him why I was taking his time. So he finally ended the conversations. It took me 10 years to figure out this gut level alarm for mythic figures. Mm-hmm. And look what he's done since then. So he's lived up to his promise. Mm-hmm. And my gut alarm has apparently continued to function, even though I'm no longer in the world of popular culture.
Mm-hmm. And what do you see as the next best thing?
To Elon?
Or not only to Elon, but to anything in 2020.
Well, the Chinese have this grand vision. It's called the Belton Road Initiative. They bought up ports all over the world, including in South America, in the Mediterranean Sea, on the coasts of Europe, and on the west coast of the United States. And they are planning to prepare those ports for tankers of a size the world has never seen before. They are planning to link a total of 30 countries and 3.2 billion people, 60 countries, and 3.2 billion people with a high-speed rail system that will allow them to send manufactured goods from China to Spain in 2 days. And this is a grand vision, and it makes total sense. It's something that can uplift the world. Well, for the last 4 years in the White House, in my opinion, Mike, there's been nobody who has a big vision for the future of America like this. But there has been a future for the vision of America. Elon Musk, with his starships, not only for the price of one space launch system launch, he can take 4,000 people to the moon. 4,000 people for the price of getting 3 people up or 2 people up on the rinky-dink Franken rocket, the rinky-dink highly expensive Franken rocket.
Or
in addition...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But he has another plan. And the other plan is to use this orbital vehicle to take people from London to Tokyo in 22 minutes, to provide what he calls point-to-point transportation with these things. So Elon Musk is building the transportation company of the future. And we need to root with all our hearts and souls for Jeff Bezos and any other competitor that comes along, but none have. So we have at least competition in this sector, because Elon will be providing not only the fastest transportation on the face of the planet, he will be providing the only major transportation system in space. And look at the simple fact that one meteor, a medium-sized meteor, has materials in it that are worth, in Earth dollars, the entire gross domestic product of humanity. One meteor.
Wow.
And that gives you an idea of the resources in space. We've talked about harvesting solar power in space. That's a tremendous resource. Space is full with resources. If you want to build a colony, and Jeff Bezos does, If you want to build a colony that's big enough to have lakes and parks and forests and farms, which you can do, where are you going to get the materials? You can't chew up Earth and send Earth materials up there. It's too expensive. You can get them on the moon. You can get them from asteroids. The solar system is just filled with resources. And a lot of people on the left, my side, might say, what hubris? How dare you do this? How dare you spoil the pristine nature of these stones in the sky? Well, guess what? We living things have been violating the pristine nature of one planet and turning it green for the last 4 billion years. That's what life is all about, taking dead atoms and kidnapping, seducing, and recruiting them into the process of life. We've done that with one hostile gravity ball, this Earth. And we're nowhere near starting. I mean, you get on a plane from LA to New York, and most of what you see is brown stuff. It doesn't have any life on it, or none that you can see from the sky. So life is so far only greened and gardened this planet to the smallest extent. And there are other hostile gravity balls hanging above our heads, waiting for this grand enterprise in which life chews dead things and turns them into part of what's green, gardened, and flourishing. Mm-hmm. So our job is to take, there's a slogan and that I came up with, and NASA, or the National Space Society, has adopted it, and it's bring space to life by bringing life to space.
And that is very fantastic. Once again, author and publicist Howard Bloom here on the Mike Wagner Show of Einstein, Michael Jackson, me, and a lot more, talking about the space program, Joe Biden, a lot more. And Howard, love to have you back on as well in 2021 and beyond. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? And where can people purchase or check out your books?
Well, people can check me out on howardbloom.net or simply on Amazon. Upcoming projects, there are 9 very impressive people putting together a Howard Bloom Institute. Look, Mike, 2 guys reached out over 350 years and saved my life when I was 10 years old. They were Galileo and the inventor of the microscope, Anton von Leeuwenhoek. Mm-hmm. So I feel it's my job to reach out over 350 years and save the next poor, confused kid along the line. And the Howard Bloom Institute is dedicated to achieving that. So that's what's coming up. They haven't got a website yet. They're working on it, and they probably will have it in 3 or 4 weeks, but keep your eyes open for a Howard Bloom Institute. And when I can finally get the time, I have to finish editing a book of bloomology by a French scholar. Oh, wow. And when I finish that, then I'll be able to start my next book. I've got 45,000 words of it actually already, wow, which is called The Case of the Sexual Cosmos. Everything you know about nature is wrong.
That is amazing. We'll definitely have you back on, talk more about that. Again, Howard, a very big thank you for your time. You're always amazing. Looking forward to having you again very, very soon, and always keep us up to date, and love you back on in 2021 and beyond. And don't forget to keep in touch. I mean, you're always fascinating, and it's always great to hear from you.
Yeah, that'll be terrific, Mike. I look forward to seeing you later in the year.
Hey, everybody. My name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real-life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.